You know that specific knot in your stomach when the check engine light turns on? That instant mental calculation of how much is in checking versus how many days until Friday, that is the hidden tax of having zero margin. It's not just about being broke. It's about the fact that gravity is heavier when you're at the bottom. When you have $500 to your name, a flat tire isn't an inconvenience. It's a financial crisis that forces you to borrow money, pay interest, and dig the hole deeper. But here's the thing nobody says out loud. The hardest money you will ever save is the first $20,000. It feels like climbing a wall of glass. But once you cross that line, the physics of your life actually change. The wind stops blowing in your face and starts pushing you from behind. The problem is, the entire financial system, especially that big bank where you keep your checking account, is designed to keep you below that line. They profit from your volatility. They starve on your stability. Here's the rule you need to memorize. It's called escape velocity. In rocket science, you burn 90% of your fuel just getting off the ground. Money is exactly the same. The first $20,000 is purely fuel burn. You are fighting inflation, you are fighting unexpected expenses, and you are fighting your own bad habits. But the moment you hit $20,000 in liquid cash, you reach orbit. You stop fighting for survival and start looking for opportunities. If you want simple money math that turns that panic into a concrete plan, subscribe. I'm Mint. So, why 20,000? Why not 10 or 50? $20,000 is the specific mathematical tipping point where defense turns into offense. Below this number, you are playing a defensive game. You are dodging overdraft fees, you are praying the rent check clears, and you are one bad week away from high-interest credit card debt. That is the trap zone. Most people live in the trap zone their entire lives. They get to 5,000, feel safe, buy a used car, or go on a vacation, and drop back to zero. They treat their savings account like a checking account with a waiting period. But let's look at the math of what happens when you hold $20,000 firm. Imagine two people, Alex and Sam, both lose their jobs on the same Tuesday. Alex has $2,000 in savings. For Alex, this is a catastrophe. He has maybe 3 weeks of runway. The desperation sets in by day 3. He has to take the very first job offer he gets, even if it pays less than his old one, even if the commute destroys his car, even if he hates it. He has no leverage. He is negotiating from his knees. The bank loves Alex. He's going to rack up credit card debt to survive the gap, paying 25% interest, and he'll probably overdraft twice. Now look at Sam. Sam has $20,000 sitting in a boring high-yield savings account. He loses his job. It stings, sure, but he has 6, maybe 8 months of runway. He doesn't panic. He spends the first week fixing up his resume. He waits for a job that pays 10% more than his old one. Because he can afford to wait, he lands a better role. That $20,000 didn't just pay his rent, it bought him a raise. That is the return on resilience. And that is exactly why your bank hates it when you get here. Big commercial banks operate on a model that preys on the vulnerable and exploits the lazy. If you have low balances, they hit you with maintenance fees and overdraft charges. That's free money for them. But if you have $20,000 sitting in a standard checking account, they are paying you maybe 0.01% interest. They take your $20,000, lend it to Alex at 7% for a car loan or 20% for a credit card, and keep the difference. If you are keeping 20 grand in a big bank checking account, you are donating your wealth to their shareholders. You are the product. In a minute, I'm going to show you exactly where to move that money so it pays you instead of them. But first, we need to talk about the invisible levers that activate at this level. When you have $20,000, you unlock the ability to buy quality. This is the boots theory of economics. A poor person buys $50 work boots that fall apart every 6 months. Over 10 years, they spend $1,000 on boots. A person with cash buys the $300 boots that last 10 years. They spent $300, the poor person spent $1,000. This applies to everything. Car insurance is cheaper if you pay 6 months in full. You can handle a $1,000 dental bill today instead of ignoring it until it becomes a $3,000 root canal next year. Money repels problems. The more you have, the cheaper life gets. The less you have, the more expensive it is to exist. Now, let's run a second scenario. Let's talk about the psychological dividend. This isn't hard math, but it affects your wallet just as much. When you have $0, your brain is in scarcity mode. Your IQ literally drops. You make short-term, impulsive decisions because you can't see the future. You buy the expensive convenience food because you're too stressed to cook. You buy the lottery ticket because it's the only hope you see. When you hit 20,000, your brain shifts to abundance mode. You walk into a room or a meeting or a car dealership and you know you can walk away. That confidence saves you thousands. You don't buy the extended warranty because you are the warranty. You don't accept the bad financing terms because you can write a check. However, there is a massive trap waiting for you right around the $15,000 mark. I see this constantly. It's called the reward trap. You've been grinding. You've been eating rice and beans. You see that balance hit $15,000. You feel rich. So you convince yourself that you deserve a reward. You trade in your paid-off sedan for a newer SUV with a $400 monthly payment. You drop $3,000 on an all-inclusive resort trip. In 1 month, you torch 50% of your progress. You didn't just spend the money, you destroyed your momentum. You fell back into the gravity well. The trick is to realize that $20,000 isn't spending money, it's infrastructure. You don't burn the bricks of your house to keep warm. You don't spend your safety net to feel good. Here is the part people miss about the bank. If you move your $20,000 out of your big bank and into a high-yield savings account or a low-cost index fund, you are effectively firing your bank. Let's look at the numbers on that. If you leave $20,000 in a standard account earning 0.01% after 1 year, you have earned $2. 2. That doesn't even buy a coffee. Meanwhile, inflation at 3% has eaten $600 of your purchasing power. You lost money by saving it. If you move that same $20,000 to a high-yield savings account earning 5%, you earn $1,000 in a year. Passive. No work. That covers your Netflix, your gym membership, and maybe your phone bill. Forever. Your money is now an employee that shows up to work every single day. But don't do this yet, because if you move the money without the right setup, you'll just spend it. We need to talk about the gap. The gap is the difference between your income and your expenses. Most people increase their spending as their income goes up. That's lifestyle creep. The only way to hit $20,000 and stay there is to artificially widen the gap. If you get a raise, that money doesn't exist. It goes straight to the hoard. If you get a bonus, it doesn't exist. It goes to the hoard. I call this the ghost income strategy. You live on your old salary while your new salary builds your freedom. So how do we actually build this fortress without losing our minds? Here is the Mint move. It's a 3-step sequence to secure the $20,000 floor. First, you need to partition the hard drive. You cannot keep your savings in the same logged-in view as your checking. If you see it every time you buy groceries, you will spend it mentally. Open an account at a completely different bank. A boring one. No debit card access. Make it annoying to get the money. Second, set the auto draft rule. Do not rely on willpower to save. Willpower is a battery, and it runs out by Friday night. Set an automatic transfer for the day after payday. Even if it's just $200, it has to leave your checking account before you have a chance to give it a job. Third, define your break glass conditions. Write down on a physical piece of paper what constitutes an emergency. A flat tire? Yes. Pizza delivery? No. A last-minute concert? Absolutely not. If the situation isn't on the list, the money doesn't move. You have to treat that savings account like it's radioactive. You don't touch it unless the containment is breached. When you have $20,000, you have walked away from the edge of the cliff. You can sleep. Your boss can't ruin your life in a 10-minute meeting. Your car can't bankrupt you. You have bought your freedom back, $1 at a time. Life gets easier because you stop paying the poor tax. You stop paying late fees, you stop paying high interest, and you stop paying with your mental health. Once you hit this number, the next goal is 100,000. And believe it or not, the path from 20 to 100 is actually faster than the path from 0 to 20. The math starts working for you. If you want to know exactly how to accelerate from this safety net into actual wealth, you need to watch the video on the first 100K next. I break down the compounding mechanics that kick in once you escape the gravity well. I'll see you there.